All right, we are back here on Live with YouTube Gaming. So last week I talked about No Man's Sky, and there was a lot of attention online about my comments on that. And I think the thing that was most important to me is that this show is a chance to talk to you guys about different things that I'm thinking about, what you guys are thinking about, create that two-way conversation. So tonight I thought I'd talk a little bit more about Five Nights at Freddy's, which I think was sort of the biggest Rickroll moment of the week. When this guy, who we think is this guy, Five Nights at Freddy's game developer Scott Cawthon, posted on Steam that he might have to delay tomorrow's release of the game, Sister Location, as we mentioned, because he thought the game might not be kid-friendly and, quote-unquote, there are certain plot elements that are very dark. Now, of course, blogs and Twitter spun up with the news of this game's delay. But for those who are true fans of the franchise, they kind of knew that this probably was another marketing stunt, like when Scott took to Steam near the release of Five Nights at Freddy's 3 to say he was, quote-unquote, hacked and the game is canceled. Yeah, he kind of fibbed a little bit, all in the pursuit of some headlines. Now, Scott, who I don't think I've ever met, and I've emailed him a couple times over the years when the first game came out, like in the summer of 2004, I emailed him to try and talk to him. Never responded to my emails. I've emailed him 2 or 3 times since then. He sort of, I think, likes to troll people, and he creates these clickbait moments to drive, obviously, awareness and hype of his games. I think part of the reason he did all this week was so we would all talk about it. And maybe he'd argue this is all part of the game of Five Nights at Freddy's to create sort of more enjoyment for his fans. Now, some people would say he is an absolute genius marketer. Others would say he's kind of toying with the emotions of his audience. And maybe that's okay, because Five Nights is a game that kind of tests the limits of your emotional endurance. If Freddy is supposed to scare us, is scaring us that the game is delayed all part of the fun? Now, as the team and I were watching Scott's Steam post this week, we didn't know what was happening. We were having all these meetings. We're like, oh, we're going to cover the game. Maybe it got delayed. Maybe it didn't. We're not sure what's happening. It actually got me thinking a little bit about Hideo Kojima and sometimes how he plays with his fans. Now, I've been part of some of these ruses in the past. Of course, the announcement of the Phantom Pain from the mysterious Moby Dick Studios. You may remember that at the Video Game Awards, where this trailer appeared and we called it the Phantom Pain at the end. And within probably about 4 seconds, people figured out that the Phantom Pain logo actually had a Metal Gear Solid 5 sort of hidden inside of it. And, you know, he gave up on it pretty quickly because that night at the after party, you know, it was clear he had played people like a fiddle and they all wore Phantom Pain t-shirts at the after party. So, but he likes to sort of create this game and tease his fans. But Kojima does it with a nod and a wink. And sometimes things are so over the top or strange, you know he's playing you like a fiddle. And, you know, we love how his mind works. You probably remember after that, the supposed CEO and president of Moby Dick Studios, he did an interview with him, and this was a guy in a bunch of bandages who, you know, was a supposed Norwegian game developer that no one had ever heard of. But it was part of the fun. Now, here's what I think is a little bit different about what Scott's doing and his approach, and why it kind of bothers me. A large part of the Five Nights at Freddy's fan base are kids, and when they see a somewhat official post on Steam about a game's delay or concerns around its themes, they may not fully realize what's really going on behind the scenes. The ability to separate reality from fiction is a real concern. Now, a case in point? Well, a few months ago on Steam, Scott posted this on the forums, reminding fans, or kids as he called them, to not call pizzerias and harass, disrupt real businesses because they were trying to find the actual Five Nights at Freddy's pizzeria. Now, obviously, he's saying there that this is a situation that, you know, people can't separate reality from what's in the game world. So should Scott's troll post be held to a different standard? After all, he's stirring up news outlets with what seems like fake news when it likely was always his intention to release the game tomorrow. I guess we will all find out together on October 7th, but in fact, overnight on Steam, he posted at the very end of his post, a little update saying, "See you guys tomorrow," with a wink. So clearly something is going on here, and it's part of this game. Now, journalists are always accused of creating clickbait stories, or influencers are attacked for not putting a hashtag ad in a sponsored video. But what standard should we hold game developers to when they don't tell the truth like Sean Murray or use us as pawns in their marketing campaigns? But hey, maybe right now I'm playing right into Scott's hand. And he's sitting there in Texas watching this saying, oh my God, this is more promotion for my game. Here is Geoff talking about the game and generating free earned awareness. But here's what I hope. Sister Location, which probably is coming out tomorrow, we'll find out and we'll talk about it next week, will be a good game. And if it is, I think it can stand on its own creative merit. The actual game is what should generate the headlines, not the Rickroll teaser campaign. But we live in an era where the viral buzz is what cuts through the clutter and what generates headlines and clicks. Game creators are insanely imaginative, and the last thing I want to do is see or restrict how these creators bring their games to market. But what I do think should happen, especially in the case of Scott's game, is that his alternate reality game shouldn't appear or seem like official communications to the fans. If you want to opt in to play along, you can. But those who don't want to start playing until the game actually releases on Steam can have that choice too. Now, that's just my take, and I'd love to hear what you guys think. You can hit me up at Geoff Keighley on Twitter or hit up the forums. I'm sure we'll all be talking about this, and we will find out tomorrow how the Five Nights at Freddy's Sister Location story all ends, hopefully with a great game that everyone is playing.